Good morning, friends, and welcome to Beaver Bay. And this is the Beaver River, and those are not the Beaver Falls. The Beaver Falls are actually downriver a little further, but I've decided to come upriver a little ways and explore the smaller falls, and believe it or not, that's one of the smaller falls. I don't know, there's just something that just kind of grabs my interest a little more in the smaller ones. But first shot of the day, I think, is these two kind of trickling down. And I've got this big rock here in the foreground, and that's my thought. Again, we've got just kind of a gray overcast sky, so I'm not going to include any sky detail on this right now. I'm going to cut that off, but there is one tree in the background that's just catching a little bit of light. I'm hoping maybe it'll get a little break in the clouds to kind of help illuminate that. But that's the thought process so far on this shot, so let me get it all framed up and ready to go, and I'll show you what we're looking at. All right, so I think we've got it all figured out here. It's gonna be an exposure blend. This one is not a typical focus stack. I'm far enough away from this rock in the foreground that I don't need to worry too much about it. I'm gonna shoot at an f11 and focus on the waterfall, and then I've got enough distance between me and the next object in my frame that should give me a nice sharp image front to back. What I am gonna do is an exposure blend. So I'm gonna do a short shutter speed on the waterfall of about a quarter second, and that is going to give me that nice kind of bridal veil feel to the waterfall. It's going to give me that blurry motion. But their falls are flowing really well. There's a lot of water, so they don't need a lot of time. I still want to leave some texture in there. I want to show some force behind that water, but that's what that quarter second's going to do. It's going to give me just a little bit of a motion blur and still leave me with some texture in that water. And then what we're going to do is drop our ISO down, put in a 3-stop neutral density filter, and get anywhere between 15 to 30 seconds for these bubbles in the foreground flowing around this rock. And they just kind of make the foreground a little more interesting, and they kind of help that rock stand out a little bit more, because it's otherwise a brown rock in a brown river. And that's kind of the shot. I'll show you here what we are looking at. We've got the two waterfalls there in the background, as you can see, and we'll do the quarter second for that to show a little bit of motion, but still retain some detail and some the idea of some force and water flowing in that shot. Then we'll do a second exposure, a longer exposure, anywhere between 15 to 30 seconds. We'll play with that and see which one we like better, but that's gonna give me streaks in these bubbles. They're gonna be moving. You can see them moving through right now. They're just real slow. So if you drag that shutter like 20, 25, 30 seconds, you get these streaks, and that helps that rock right there stand out just a little bit more. And then you can see what I'm hoping, that tree right up there, I'm hoping that catches a little bit of light and we can kind of make that pop out. But if it doesn't, it doesn't, and if it does, well, that's just bonus stuff. All right, okay. Well, we got those two shots. They'll blend together to become one shot, but I think I'm happy with that. It's great. So we're gonna pack it up here, and I think we're gonna, I'm gonna head up to those falls and explore those a little bit, see what I can get. I know I've got some other nice little falls over here to my right that we're gonna explore a little bit. We're just gonna explore a little bit. That's what we're gonna do, because really, it's fun. All right. Thank you, Waterfall. Alrighty, well, I think I've come across shot number 2 today. And I'm gonna try to set this up kind of quick because I think I've got a little sky interest. Got some big puffy clouds, got this big tall tree standing off to my right, have this nice little fall right here in front of me. So I'm gonna try to find a good spot to get the tripod to live that doesn't want to fall over. That's Not the worst I've ever done. Great, we're gonna go with that. All right, let me grab the camera and some filters. But like I said, got this tiny little fall in front of me, little kind of leading line off to the right with the water trailing off that way. That's gonna kind of be the foreground, I think. And then we've got this tall tree on the right, and I've got this little stand of trees kicking down diagonally from left to right, just kind of shooting out over all these rocks. And I've got these great big poofy clouds catching a little bit of edge light. So I want to try to get those in this. I think that'll work out. If that doesn't work out, I'm gonna go in tight on these falls. I think that's gonna also work. I might go a little lower and a little tighter, but two potential shots from right here, which is always exciting for me. All right, so we've got our shot all set up, shooting at an ISO 50, f11, 15-second exposure. What's going on in front of the glass is a whole bunch of filters. We've got a polarizer on there, take the glare off the water. We've got a 6-stop neutral density in front of the lens, which is just slowing down my shutter speed, giving me that 15-second exposure to really soften out this water. I want this one to just kind of feel really kind of ethereal and painterly. So I don't really want the texture in this water. It's a slow little gentle fall. And then I've got a 3-stop soft split grad, which is knocking down the exposure on that sky. The dynamic range between the dark foreground and shadow, and then of course the big bright sky, is too much for the camera to handle. So that split grad is just kind of trying to even me out top to bottom. I have a 15-second exposure. Again, like I said, f11, ISO 50, and that's the shot. So we're gonna pack this up again, move around a little, and explore this upper section of the falls. I haven't really been past this point here before. I was here last week, and the river was not flowing nearly as much, so it's a little harder to get around this week, which makes me nervous, because last week, I fell in the river. So trying to be a little extra cautious this week and not fall in the river. All right, we're all set up on shot 3 or 4. I'm losing track, I'm not gonna lie to you, but that's okay. It's a good problem to have, right? Too many things to shoot is fabulous. Oh, my light's changing, which is actually working out for me. This shot is really simple. It is still a shot of a waterfall. And let's face it, today is gonna be a bunch of shots about waterfalls because I like them. But this one's a little different in that I have a pool here in front of me that's just giving me a little different foreground interest. I can show this to you here real quick over here on my camera. So you can see the pool here, 3 falls in the background, and I like this rock that's just kind of jutting out over the pool. So focused on the rock, f11, gives me pretty sharp front to back. It's going to be about a ½ second exposure at an ISO 50. What I don't like about this frame is all of this sky. There's no real detail in it. It's overexposed, as you can see here. So I'm gonna probably end up cropping a bunch of that out. I'll probably do a couple of exposures, one for my scene here in front of me, one for the sky just to darken it down, and that'll give me a little something to kind of paint in later when I'm editing, just to detract from that sky. I don't think there's anything there that's gonna hold your interest. It's not adding to the scene at all. This is about the pool and the waterfall in the background. So that's really the entire shot right there. Like I said, f11, ISO 50, ½ second. I have a polarizer in front of the lens to take the glare off the water, and that's it, nothing else. The ½ second shutter speed is plenty long for this waterfall, and that's the shot. It's done, and it's simple, and I like this one. have traveled 4 feet to get this next shot. Kind of the same waterfall, but I've moved probably 8 feet forward and 3 feet to the right, and just found a completely different composition, and I like it. So I've got this, the creek is kind of coming in, curving around to my right, and then coming in across the foreground, and then I've got those same 3 falls again in the background. Just threw the polarizer on there, so take a look at that, because I'm imagining I want to take the glare off those rocks, and that just helps accentuate the difference between the dark rock and the white water. Shooting at an f11 ISO 100, it's about 1/3 of a second. I think that's going to be good. Yeah, I think that's great. I don't think I need to go any more than that. And that's the shot. Focused on the rock here in the foreground. F11's keeping me sharp enough front to back, so I'm not worried about focus anywhere. And that's it. I might go just a little longer. I'm going to drop this ISO down to 50. It's going to put me at half a second, a little over half a second. I think I like that a little better, a little more painterly. And that's one of those things with waterfalls and water. Your shutter speed, it can change the story and the feel of the image. You can freeze that water and show the rushing, the rage if you want to, or you can slow your shutter speed down, drag it out, and let that water just cascade gently and in this kind of an ethereal, mystical manner over the edge. So it depends on what you want. I kind of like to draw a balance between the two usually. I like more of that bridal veil feel, but I want just a little bit of texture in that water. I want it to feel real, but I still want there to be kind of this sense of awe and mystery. Well, my friends, that is a great day. And I think with that, I'm gonna call it a day. This has been fantastic. This is such a great area. It's like a waterfall playground. There's waterfall after waterfall, and it's been great. I have some shots I think I'm really happy with, so I have no complaints. And I am looking forward to coming back here in the fall. I bet the fall color here will be just amazing. But the sun's starting to come out, climbing a little higher in the sky, light's getting a little harsh, and quite frankly, I'm starting to get hungry. So I'm gonna pack it up, head on home, have myself some breakfast, because it's almost 10. But I wanna take this opportunity to thank you for coming along with me. Please give it a thumbs up if you liked it, subscribe if you wanna see more, and tell your friends, because the more the merrier. And from alongside the Beaver River, here in Beaver Bay, Minnesota, so long. And we'll see you next time.